Okay.
The following public service program is brought to you by the Metropolitan Library System. And now, Read About It with your host, B.J. Williams.
We have a great show for you today, including a talk by Bruce Todd about Bones Hooks, pioneer Negro cowboy. But first, our own Kim Edwards will be talking with Doug Benton about a CD you can check out at your library.
Hey everybody, I'm here with Kimberly Edwards today. Kimberly is a librarian at the Downtown Library and a specialist in teen subjects. Is that right?
I guess so.
Okay. Well, you should know if anybody does. But you want to talk to us about a CD today. What is it? Who is it?
Oh, the first CD I want to talk about is by Amos Lee, and it's his debut album, and it's self-titled Amos Lee, and it is a blend of soul, funk, folk, and blues music, and it was produced by the basis of Norah Jones' album, and it is a wonderful album of acoustic music and his wonderful vocals, which evoke Bob Dylan and Jim Croce. And it's just wonderful to listen to. It's just the kind you listen to on a rainy day and you're just sitting at home and listen to this 35-minute album because it's fairly short. But the music is great. He wrote all the songs on the album, and it was released in 2005. He has a newer album out now, but if anyone wants to get into his type of music or any music like Norah Jones's music, he's a great place to start.
Okay. Well, it sounds like, you know, such a combination of so many things. What kind of station would you listen to if you wanted to listen to music like?
You probably would have to be listening to, I actually got turned on to Amos Lee from a friend who was actually listening to NPR, and they actually was doing an interview with him, and they played some of his songs. And I've actually heard some of his music actually on TV shows, Grey's Anatomy and a few other TV shows, and of course in some movies. And it's something that you don't kind of, like, you kind of, when you listen to it, you don't pay attention to it until afterwards, it's like, boy, that was a really great song. And but you would probably find it on blues stations or anything that plays jazz, any station that plays jazz.
Yeah. Well, comparing him to Jim Croce and Bob Dylan, that's pretty a powerful company he's running with there.
He has very poetic lyrics. And as I was listening to the album again last night, I just was, Jim Croce was actually the first person I thought of. Because it's like he just has this way of putting his lyrics into the songs that just make it just seem like you're just listening to a poem, just put music.
Yeah, all right. So it's not hard rockin'
No.
music that parents pull their hair out.
No.
Okay. Well, it sounds good. And it's, once again, it's Amos Lee.
It's Amos Lee, self-titled. Amos Lee is his debut album, and it's on the Blue Note label.
Okay, Amos Lee. You can pick up a copy at your local library or probably a bookstore.
Yes.
A music store. Thanks, Kimberly.
No problem.
To celebrate Oklahoma's first 100 years as a state, the Metropolitan Library System has asked George Nye to share some fascinating stories about this great place and its people.
Most of us know that Sequoyah invented the Cherokee alphabet. In fact, it is still the only alphabet of any Native American tribe, but that may not have been his greatest achievement. Sequoyah was born George Guess in Cherokee lands in the East to a white father and a Cherokee mother around 1767. And although he never learned to read and write in English, he saw that white society's talking leaves, or as he called that paper, that gave them a great power. He decided to devise a way for his people to express their language in a written form, which would seem more natural. Eventually, he settled on 85 symbols representing the sounds of the Cherokee tongue. Enduring ridicule from traditionalists, Sequoyah spread his system from Georgia to Oklahoma. As Cherokee civilization was scattered by the Trail of Tears, Sequoyah's invention gave all his people a new way to communicate over great distances. The result was an enlightenment which saw newspapers and books springing up to express Cherokee history, folklore, and ideas, and thus preserve it for future generations. Sequoyah made his final home near Sallisaw. He died around 1843, teaching his system to Cherokees who at that time lived in Mexico.
Doug Benton is with me, and it's that time of the program when we talk about what we've been reading, and I get to go first.
Okay, and what? Here, I'll set this up for you. What have you been reading, BJ?
Well, I've been reading about King Alfred.
King Alfred.
King Alfred the Great.
Oh.
Surely you've heard about King Alfred the Great.
I have heard of it, but I just didn't know that there were any new books out on it.
Well, this is a very interesting book. It's written by David Horsepool. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. He's the history editor of the Times Literary Supplement.
Oh.
And the subtitle of his book is King Alfred, Burnt Cakes and Other Legends. What he does is take a look at King Alfred, the actual man of history, and all of the legends and tales that have grown up about him. The reference to burnt cakes is something that probably most people today don't know much about, but there was a story, it was only written 100 years after his death, that at the low point of his career as king, when the Vikings had driven him out of his capital and he was hiding in the fens, he took shelter all alone in a cowherd's hut. And the wife was cooking cakes, oat cakes, on a hot rock by the fire, but she had to go out for something, and she, not knowing that she was speaking to the king of Wessex, said, "Watch these, I'll be back." And he was busy, thinking about what he was going to do to get Wessex back and eliminate the Viking threat, and the cakes burnt. And so the cowherd's wife came back, and she was very angry. She chewed him out and said, "You won't pay attention to them now. You were looking forward to eating them, but you didn't want to, do anything to look after them." And so he apologized. But that's a story. It was nothing that was said about him at the time. And there are a number of other of these little tales about Alfred that have over the 1,000 years sort of been accepted. But what Horsepool does is go back and look at what do we actually know about Alfred. We know quite a bit. We have his autobiography. One of his bishops wrote a biography of him. Alfred translated a number of works from Latin into Anglo-Saxon, and he wrote introductions to them and occasional commentary on things that he was translating. So we have that much about him as opposed to the stories. And Horsepool looks at that and says, okay, and here's also what we've learned about the period to make this a person. But he also talks about why the stories are used and how we tend to take great figures like King Arthur or Alfred the Great and interpret them according to what's going on right now in our political lives or our own lives. And so I found it a very interesting book. Not just if you're interested in English history, because it does give you a good feel for that particular time when the Anglo-Saxon part of English history could have been completely obliterated had it not been not only for Alfred, but his grandfather, his father, his brothers, his son, and his grandson. He was just one of a long line of extremely competent kings who saved the Anglo-Saxon part of England. So I'm getting a signal. So King Alfred by David Horsepool. You can find it at your library and your favorite bookstore. Coming up next is Ronna Davis. She'll be talking with Kelly Rhea about a book for our teens.
Hello, and today Ronna Davis is visiting from the Edmond Library. She's a librarian there as well as a multifaceted programmer. She's brought a young adult book that's really good. It's by Avi, and it's called Strange Happenings. Hi, Ronna.
Hello, Kelly.
Tell me why you brought Strange Happenings.
I brought this because I liked the cover of the book, and it just kind of leapt out at me. I really enjoy short stories for the obvious reason that they're short and there's a lot of variety, and I think a lot of teens also enjoy short stories for the same reason, whether they're like a collection of many authors or in this case just one author whose name is Avi.
And this is about, this is fictional fantasy about transformation.
Yes, it's about fictional fantasy as you can get, because it definitely is fantasy. The story that I'm going to particularly talk about right now is about a boy who observes his cat sitting in the sun and sleeping, and he wishes that he were a cat and then he wouldn't have to go to school.
Oh, how many of us also wish that?
Yeah, or get up in the morning or anything like that. And he happens to meet up with kind of a magical cat who has his own agenda.
Oh.
I won't give it away.
Oh, I can't wait to read
Yeah.
it. Well, it sounds really good, and so there's not one story, like you said, there's many short stories.
There's several stories. They all have to do with the theme of transformation of one kind or another. And a lot of teens they're kind of going through their own transformation, and I know that many of them identify with this kind of story. So.
Exactly. Well, it says from one of the reviews that you can see online, it says, strange indeed, these tales are actually startling.
Oh yes, I was startled. They have some trick endings, and I think that's where the startling part comes in. They're just, basically fun, and they motivate kids are motivated by reading fun stories.
So what age is this appropriate for?
I would say beginning at about 11 or 10 even, and even going up through the mid-teenage years would enjoy this. Although it is classified as a junior fiction book, I think it has a broad appeal to it.
Excellent. It's called Strange Happenings. It's by Avi. You can find it at your local bookstore or at your favorite library.
Doug and I are back, and it looks like Doug has been reading.
Yes, a great big pink book.
Well, I was going to say maybe just looking, it looks like it's a picture book.
Well, there is subtext here. It is, yes, it is mostly a picture book. This came to me oddly. One of our circulation clerks at the downtown library, Laura Talent, had this pass over her desk, and she looked at it and saw what it was and said, there's only one person that I know of who would love to have this book. It's called Pretty Things. It's subtitled The Last Generation of American Burlesque Queens. The author is Liz Goldwyn, who is the granddaughter of the Samuel Goldwyn, who was a big movie producer in the old days, 30s and on. Apparently, a couple of years ago, she made a documentary for HBO on the last days of burlesque in America. I didn't see the program. I'd never even heard of it. But this is a companion volume to that television documentary. And Goldwyn's main interest is in the costuming. She's fascinated by these over-the-top theatrical costumes and has spent several years collecting them. And apparently, as she was doing that, she went around talking to the women who owned them and became interested in the whole story of burlesque. As we talk about the book, I think we'll be seeing some photos, some stills from, I'm looking at the monitor over here. There we go, there's some early burlesque costumes, very early, from the 19th century. As you can see, they were not particularly revealing in those days, as we would define it, although I'm certain that men were very interested in those legs, the limbs of the young ladies. Here from the 1930s is a group, they were called the Beefstock Girls. So not all burlesque queens were
20 pounds underweight.
20 pounds underweight and willowy and extremely attractive. These were some more heavyset women who were part of the Beefstock Girls. A lot of the book, as I say, deals with costuming. Here are some sketches. She writes a lot about the more famous burlesque costume designer, a woman named Gussie, who was actually introduced to burlesque by her husband, who was a vice squad cop in Los Angeles. He asked her if she wanted to go along on a raid of a burlesque house one time. She went and became fascinated by the costumes that the women were wearing, and ended up designing several of them. Here's just a shot from a sketch called The Girl from the Police Gazette that was part of a burlesque show in the 1940s, the early 1940s. And again, you see their costumes were still not terribly revealing. This is Betty Rowland, who is Goldwyn's primary confidant, I suppose, when it comes to tales of the burlesque of those days. Rowland says that her first exposure to show business was when she saw some midgets at the circus and went home and told her parents, "When I grow up, I want to be a midget." Yeah. Okay. Anyway, the book is Pretty Things, The Last Generation of American Burlesque Queens. It's by Liz Goldwyn. If you are of a certain frame of mind, I think you'll enjoy it a lot.
And you can find it at your library.
You betcha.
Coming up next, every once in a while, I ask MJ Vandeventer, who's usually asking our community leaders what they like to read, what she's been reading. I think you'll enjoy what she has to say. MJ, it's great to have you here and talking about a book you've read instead of talking to people who've read books.
Well, it's a fun book. It's called The Front Porch. It's by Anne Herner. And it's really a delightful book. You know how much I love interior design books.
Absolutely.
I like to read them, I like to write them. But this is really a fun book.
Now, it's actually exterior design, isn't it?
It is.
And it's something that I think most people no longer use. Everybody used to live on their front porch in the
Right.
summer, but
Not now.
Not now.
It's sort of a vanishing part of American homes, really.
But obviously, people are still putting front porches on their homes.
Oh, elaborate front porches.
Ah.
And sort of the essence of this book is that you can tell a lot about a person by their front porch.
I am sorry to hear that.
And I probably shouldn't have said it because on my front porch I have a table, an old trunk, an old school desk, and I have 3 Christmas trees still lighted.
Oh dear.
Yes,
but,
oh dear.
but they're very discreet Christmas trees, MJ.
Well, yes, they are. They're all different sizes. But the porch actually began in Greece,
Oh,
which
really?
I found quite interesting, and then was transported to America.
Mm-hmm. Now, this was something that worked its way, I think, from Greece to Rome and then
to America.
To America. And obviously, people still build porches and, as you said, elaborately decorate, but they don't use them.
Right.
So
It's all for show.
All for show. But there are some lovely examples here in this book.
Oh, some great examples, and some great Victorian examples, and romantic and Italian style porches, and big columns, and wonderful furniture and plants, and you know, it really is a fun book to give you ideas for what you could do with your own porch, even though you're never going to sit on it.
Right. Well, I would think a lot of these ideas you could use in your veranda in the backyard, which is where everybody tends to go now. So it would be useful for anybody who wants their...
easily transportable.
Yeah. Well, and I would think if they just put some ceiling fans on some of those porches, they might...
They might actually use them.
Might actually use them. Now, this covers the entire country, doesn't it?
Yes, it does. There's some wonderful examples from Santa Fe, Adobe front porches, and there are examples from all over the country.
Mm-hmm. Well, it sounds like a really great book. And the title again?
The Front Porch.
It sounds great, and thank you very much, MJ.
Thank you.
A few months ago, Bruce Todd was at the National Cowboy and Western Heritage Museum talking about his book, Bones Hooks, Pioneer Negro Cowboy. I think you'll enjoy what he has to say. Bruce, what prompted you to write a book about Bones Hooks?
Well, first of all, I want to say I never really intended on writing about black history, but Monica Hilling, a woman who was a former teacher at West Texas A&M, she came to Amarillo in 1954. She got me involved in it, in black history, because there was no black history in Amarillo, and there was no black history on Bones Hooks, but you've seen his name everywhere. So I was interested, and she pushed me. And Reverend Cortez, who is black, pushed me, and Charles Kemp, the president of Black Cultural Center, he pushed me into it, and And Panhandle Plain Historical Museum, they helped me in every way they could, and one thing just led to another. But like I said, I never intended on writing a book on Black history.
But you just got intrigued. Well, I would be intrigued, just the name Bones Hooks.
Yeah.
Kind of makes you wonder, how do you end up being called something like Bones?
Well, it happened when he was about 12 years old. He went to work for a ranch, DSD, when he was about 10 years old, which was near Dallas in Denton County. And the cowboys one day brought some dice back from town, and they were laying on the ground, and one of them said, hand me them bones. And Matthew Hooks thought he misunderstood it. He said, my name ain't Bones. And that's all the cowboys need to have some fun. So they went one after another and said, hey, what is this kid's name? One after another, the cowboy said, his name is Bones, his name is Bones, his name is Bones. In 77, when he was 77 years old, he said, that's how I got my name, and I still can't get rid of that name.
Now, he started out in, as you said, around Dallas. He was part of a very large family. His parents actually had been slaves.
Yes.
And he had to get out and make a living pretty early on, didn't he?
Yes. Yes, he started driving a meat wagon when he was 9, and when he was 10 years old, he was working at the Keelan farm, and that was in Robertson County where he was born. And then a guy named Daniel Steve Donald from DSD Ranch came to pick up some supplies. They needed someone to drive the wagon back to the ranch in Denton County. And Mr. Keelan suggested Bones, and Bones' father, who was a Baptist preacher and school teacher, had a lot of confidence in his son. He gave his blessings, went over there to work, and he ended up working for the DSD for 5 years until he went to the Pecos region.
Now, at one point, he tried getting out of the cowboy business and went back home, didn't he, to start a store?
Yes, he was about 19 years old then. He had already been in the wild Pecos region, or Judge Roy Bean's territory, and he went back home. He sold it. He already had his own brand of horses and cattle. He sold it, went back to visit his parents. Then he bought a little general store in Wamba, which is close to Texarkana, and that's close to where his parents had been slaves. And he was there a year and a half until one day he came to a store, and there was a sign that said, you have 36 hours to get out. And he said, I didn't need 36 hours. I was going in 3. So, I mean, that's the way he was humorous with a lot of things, the way he told him things. So then he went back to west. He went back to West Texas.
Now, you explained that he wasn't what we might think of as an all-around cowboy, that he specialized in one particular area, didn't he?
Yes, he was a bronc buster, and he worked for most of the ranches in the Pecos area and also the Texas Panhandle, including Charles Goodnight, who Charles Goodnight said he was his best wrangler. But he said the cowboy, he became the best bronc buster in the region, but not because he was trying to. They kept putting him on horses, and he kept getting thrown off. The cowboy would put him on there just to see him get thrown off. And he said, but they weren't trying to make me into a great bronc buster. They were just trying to get me thrown off. But I became the best bronc buster in the region.
And in fact, there's an incident much later on that really made him famous to the point where he was known over much of the country.
Yes, this happened in 1910, and he was 42 years old. He had retired from bronc busting for over 10 years, and he was now a porter, a Pullman porter for the Santa Fe Railroad. And he was on the train, and some cattlemen was on the train talking about this wild horse that no one could break. And J.D. Jeffries, who Bones used to work for, he said, well, Bones, why don't you break this horse? And he said, well, okay, have him there 2 days from today, and I'll break him when the train pulls into Pampa, Texas. And so 2 days later, the train pulled in, the horse was there, Bones already had on his boots and spurs, the train was full of people, there was reporters out there, a crowd, it was documented, and he got out there, and bow-legged, you know, for many years of riding a horse, he walked up and got on the horse and broke that horse, the horse that people said that nobody else could ride, and he'd done it 10 years after he had quit bronc busting. And Paul Loon, a New York artist, but Texan by birth. He immortalized this with his sketches that went from New York to Chicago, London, so that kind of gave him a lot of fame, and at the campfires and the cowboy reunions that it was told years and years to come about that story.
Now, he lived most of his later life in Amarillo, and he actually went on to become a real force in the community, didn't he?
Yes, he accomplished many social and civic achievements. He started a town called the North Heights, which was later annexed to Amarillo by Lee Bivens, his pioneer friend. He started the first black high school in Amarillo. He helped start Mount Zion Baptist Church, which was the first black church in Amarillo. And he started a boys club, much like the Maverick Club or the Boys Ranch. He started for black youth. He started a pioneer panhandle club for black people. He was the first black to sit on the Texas grand jury. And in 1931, when the Panhandle Plain Historical Museum had its a dedication with all the pioneers, and there was 1,000 people there, faculty and members, and 1,000 white-faced students. He was the first speaker of the day in 1931. And I thought that was pretty much an accomplishment for those days.
Yeah, it sure was. It's a very interesting book, and it's obvious that you spent a lot of time on research.
Yes, without the Black Cultural Center and the Potter County Oral History Project could not do it. But Charles Kemp, who was the president of Black Cultural Center, he called up a lot of the black people, the older ones, been in Amarillo 50 years or more, and their parents were pioneers and their grandparents. And he said, we need to get this history done. So this guy's going to come over and be nice to him because he's white. And we need to get our history done. And so he opened a lot of doors, and the people, the black community, just embraced what I was trying to do.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think most of us think of cowboys as being all white.
Right.
When, if you go back and look at the record, that there were all kinds of people who were cowboys, that there were a lot of African Americans that moved out west and did bronc riding and all kinds of things. And I'm very glad that you're bringing that to our attention.
Well, I'm glad I could.
Well, I want to thank you very much, Bruce, for being with us today.
I was glad to be here. Thank you.
Bruce Todd has been telling us about Bones Hooks, Pioneer Negro Cowboy. You can find the book at your local library and your favorite bookstore. Doug and I are here. We have time for one birthday.
One birthday. How about March 19th?
Sounds good.
Sounds good. The birthday of Sir Richard Francis Burton, not the actor Richard Burton, but the explorer and translator and all-around adventurer, Sir Richard Francis Burton.
And you can find out about him and everybody we've talked about today by visiting the library at www.metrolibrary.org. Thanks for being with us. We'll see you next time.